Train collided with a sewage tanker.
All day investigators have been examining the wreckage to find out exactly what happened. Experts say it was lucky nobody was killed. One passenger, a 58-year-old man, is critically ill. Let's just go through the sequence of events. The train left Sudbury for Marks Tey at 5:31 last night. 20 passengers were on board. At 5:35 it hit a slurry tanker on the level crossing. 2 minutes later the police were alerted. The first emergency crews arrived at 5:47. The scene of the crash near Sudbury has been busy all day. Let's get the very latest now from Alex Dunlop.
Well, Stuart, at 5:31 yesterday evening, 20 commuters got on board the train from Sudbury, just about 2 or 3 miles up this branch line and headed down towards Marks Tey, as you say. The train was reaching 50, 60 miles an hour into its journey, and then suddenly the driver saw the sewage tanker on the level crossing. He braked, he couldn't stop, so he ran back into the carriage to warn people that they were about to crash. And this, as you can see, is the aftermath. Now, crucial to this investigation will be a trackside phone that was beside the level crossing over there. The question is, did the driver make a call to the signal box to say that he was going to cross the track? Well, Network Rail say they received no such call.
A sleepy branch line turned into a scene of devastation. A 44-ton sewage tanker smashed aside. A 2-carriage diesel train derailed. On the ground, the force of the impact is clear. The emergency services say it was pure luck no one died here. Those first on the scene feared the worst.
I heard a mighty sort of whoosh noise and then a sort of a boom. There were people very shocked, and people were crying and I mean, at that time we didn't know. I thought there's people dead there, got to be, the tanker was bananaed and pushed up the track.
Lee Bloomfield was in the second carriage, heading home after a day's work.
It was a really sudden collision. Everything just shot forwards. My chest went into the table, and it was just really sudden. No slowing down or anything like that. It was just quick. And then afterwards, it was just silence. I think everyone was in shock of what had happened.
The front carriage left the tracks. It ended up teetering precariously over a bridge. 21 people were hurt. 6 were kept in hospital overnight. One, a 58-year-old man, has life-threatening abdominal injuries.
Because the track is elevated, we then had to put platforms in place, work with the doctors inside and the paramedics inside, and once the triage was carried out, then take the priority casualties out via the platforms that we used.
Today, accident investigators began their work. Network Rail say they didn't receive a call from the lorry driver asking for clearance to cross the line.
On board there's the equivalent of a black box recorder that you'd see on an aeroplane. From that there's a lot of technical data that we'll piece together with colleagues from the Rail Accident Investigation Branch and the Office of the Rail Regulator.
Today it also emerged that a year ago to the day of the accident there was a near miss here. And that's not all.
We've had trains that have stopped, screeched to a halt, had confrontation with drivers, physically getting hold of them out of cabs. I've had it happen to me a couple of times where, not physically got hold of, but where I've been told that the line was clear and I've opened the gates, got ready to cross and whoosh, a train goes past. And this has happened to us twice.
But Network Rail say they have had no significant concerns about safety at the crossing. The 38-year-old lorry driver, who comes from Eastern Europe, was arrested. The police have spent the day questioning him on suspicion of dangerous driving. Now the tricky task of clearing the wreckage is getting underway. Richard Daniel, BBC Look East.
Well, tonight I can tell you that the 58-year-old passenger who is critically injured has been transferred to a hospital in London. As for the tanker driver, I understand that he is Polish. He lives in Cambridgeshire. I understand also that he is well educated. He's very experienced. He's been doing this job for a long time. So what he tells police is going to be crucial to the investigation. Now, as you can see behind me, the huge operation that's been going on all day is still very much ongoing. They've had to take down power lines to get the carriage up. A metal track, as you can see, is being laid. That's so that a 500-ton crane can be put into position, and they hope to lift the carriages at around midnight tonight. Now, of course, they've got one added headache, and that is that the tanker on the other side of the train, they want to lift that first, but that's got a ton of human waste in it, and if they lift it up, they're worried it might rupture, and of course then the whole site would be contaminated. You can see just next to me, this is one of several floodlights that have been put up, so they're going to be working through the night. As for the track, well, Network Rail say it won't reopen until Friday at the earliest. Back to you.
Alex, thank you very much.
Meanwhile, a lorry driver was killed today in a crash which blocked the M1 for more than 7 hours. The incident involved 4 lorries. It happened on the southbound carriageway between Northampton and Milton Keynes before the morning rush hour. The road was finally opened at lunchtime.
When one of the busiest motorways in the world looks like this at the height of the morning rush hour, you know it must be a bad accident. It was around 20 to 5 when 4 lorries collided on the southbound carriageway of the M1. One of the drivers was pronounced dead at the scene. The other 3 were taken to Milton Keynes General, where they were treated for minor injuries. Thousands of cars were at a standstill on every major road leading to the motorway. The southbound carriageway was eventually opened at 12:30, although it took several hours for traffic to return to normal. Thames Valley Police have opened an investigation. They're asking any witnesses to contact them. Anita Ramtari, BBC Look East.
There's been a breakthrough for investors who lost savings in the collapsed company Key Data. Many bought their plans through the Norwich and Peterborough Building Society. The Financial Ombudsman has made a recommendation in the case of one retired couple who lost £28,000. He says that money should be repaid because there's no evidence the risks were discussed in any detail. This afternoon I spoke to Matthew Bullock, the Chief Executive of the Norwich and Peterborough Building Society, and asked if the money would now be repaid.
The short answer is not yet, and it depends on further discussions we're having with the FSA, FOS and the FSCS. I think these things are coming together in September, but I'm afraid we've waited since April, and I just can't be sure when the whole thing will be orchestrated and brought together. But it's not in our hands, it's with the FSA.
The Ombudsman is quite clear, though. He says, I do not believe that the people involved would have invested in this product had they been fully aware of the risks.
Yes, and I think we did spell out those risks, and there's a disagreement, if you like, between his view, and this is not the senior ombudsman, this is an ombudsman, and his views on the product, which we just don't agree with.
But when advice is given to investors that they would involve in something that may be slightly risky, the advice is that you should only do that with sophisticated investors. Now, 93% of one group...
No, I don't agree with that, Stuart. There are a whole range of investors. If all we do is give advice to the sophisticated investors, who is going to look after the ordinary investor on the street who is not sophisticated? And just to be reassured, we're not going to walk away from our responsibilities, but we have responsibilities to many people, and it is important that everybody understands how the risks of this in this issue, the responsibilities in this issue are laid out around the various participants.
You say you're not going to walk away from it. You give the impression maybe of wriggling a little.
No, I'm not wriggling at all. There is an honest argument here. I don't tend to try and talk about it on the screen because it's technical, but there's an honest argument about the nature of the risk in this product. This particular ombudsman has made various comments in the provisional judgment that he's made, which we don't agree with. Just technically, we just don't agree with it. And we've got to sort that out, and the FSA is trying to pull all parties together to do that.
If you appeal against this and your appeal is turned down, will you then pay the money over straight away, and will you then say to everybody else who has a legitimate claim that they can have their money as well?
Well, the rules are very clear. We are bound by the Ombudsman scheme, and if he reaches a final determination, then we obviously will honour that determination. But there are many people here who, if you like, want to jiggle at the gates and try and push the thing forward on the basis of surfing on the floodgates when they open. And, you know, certainly there are people who wish to kind of make money on the back of this activity.
That's an interesting claim. You say that some people are trying to make money on the backs of this. Who are you talking about?
Well, certainly Regulatory Legal have been going around to customers saying, we'll take 10% of what we can make on it and you know, we'll handle your claim for you. And that is, in American parlance, ambulance chasing. Some people are very frustrated, and I know they are, and I would just simply say to them that we will deal with their complaints. They don't have to pay fees to anybody, but I'm afraid the process, as orchestrated by the FSA, will just take some time.
Mr. Bullock, thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, after that interview, I spoke to the law firm mentioned by Mr. Bullock. They gave us this statement: regulatory legal solicitors reject any notion of being ambulance chasers. If we are deemed as such and recover 100% redress plus interest, then all our clients will be perfectly happy to pay our fees.